How familiar are you with stepping stones?
I'm a high school teacher.
Okay. It just helps me to know, and this will really be like drinking from a fire hydrant. I mean, it's a lot of information, but then we also have all the fun stuff here where you can kind of look and see. And down the hall in the workroom, there is a table covered with resources that you are welcome to go and get some resources that go.
Downstairs?
No, upstairs.
Like, take it with us?
Yes, yes, I was cleaning out, I taught kindergarten for 20 years, and I was just cleaning out all my kindergarten things because I've been teaching 3rd and 4th now for 8 years, and I don't see myself going back to kindergarten unless God really works in an amazing way. So here we are. All right, so this is the overview, and on the NAD website, you can get to stepping stones, and then you can actually find a bunch of PowerPoints and video presentations that we did for lead teacher trainings. And so that's all there. So the reason that I'm presenting this is because I was part of the team that created all of this. And so the books, I worked closely with the person that did the Bible books. I mean, we worked as a team and all filled in for each other. And so I have the knowledge from the ground up. And then Jenny brought her things because she's the one that's currently teaching. And it's been 8 years since I've actually been in the classroom teaching kindergarten. So the idea was to make the invisible God visible. We have a philosophy, beliefs. We'll go into those a little bit more. So this is what Rob, the one that did the Bible, he kept saying over and over. God is bigger and closer and more intimately involved in our lives than we will ever know. And we are the ones that help children get to know God better and love him more. Our philosophy, start every child where he or she is and take that child as far as he or she is able to go. And it's the same thing with all the kids in your class. You start them where they are and take them as far as you can. There's no set body of knowledge and skills required for entrance to kindergarten or 1st grade. There are people that have worked very hard to make kindergarten the new 1st grade, and as with our Adventist worldview, we know that that is not best for children. So in the books, you're going to see it'll go through beliefs and the preferred practices that we've done that meet those. We're not going to read through those, but I want you to know that they're there, and if you ever want to sit down and do that, feel free.
Do you have those books there?
I do. And I'll be pulling them out as we start getting to places where it would be helpful to look through so that I can show you exactly where to find all the different pieces. All right? So there, of course, are teacher materials and student materials. So here's the teacher manual. And the teacher manual is just very helpful. It goes through the philosophy. There's an overview of the program. And then it goes through how in-depth, how to teach each thing. It has an area where it talks about assessment, meeting students' needs. We have appendices back here on what kindergarten what kindergarten students are like, so that one thing here, it says the kindergarten teacher, I can't talk. I think it's been too long a day. The kindergarten child needs frequent change of activities, so teachers should change activities frequently or as children lose interest. And so there's a whole section that talks about what kindergarten children are like and what they need. There's another, here are all the songs that go with the Bible units. There are Play-Doh recipes, and then stages of writing mini lessons. if you teach K1, K to 2, these are super helpful because it's all the writing mini lessons all in one spot, so that all you have to do is see where your kids are, and then you can easily see what will be the next writing piece that they need. Does that make sense? And so they're also included in the other DLGs, but here you have all of them in one document. So that's really nice to be able to find them. And then there are tracking cards in here as well. Here's a little poem, and I don't see that. It's a cute little poem book and just has short poems and poetry. Anything that rhymes is just so good because it helps them play with words and start seeing and hearing the rhymes in words. There are 10 daily lesson guides. So for pathways, there are 9. We did 10 because, just like I was saying today, when you plan your lessons, those first few days, you need to do something different. Well, kindergarten, we have a 2-week off-we-go unit, which is also really good for 1st and 2nd grades because it's a way that you start teaching all of the procedures. And it gives there are transition songs. I mean, it's just a really fun way. Oh, thank you. I wasn't sure what all to turn on and what not to.
Sorry, I was thinking, wait a second, if they say no, then I can turn.
No, I like light.
Okay, let there be light.
Thank you, Carmen. So that first theme it's teaching the procedures, it's transitioning them to school, because it's a big transition for them. There are 37 theme books, so most of them have 4 theme books. There's one that has 3 because one is used for 2 weeks, and Christmas is also 3, and so we were able to fit in these other two books. The last one has 5 books because we know that we have people in the NAD that teach clear to the end of June. I mean, in Canada they do. So we just wanted to make sure that you had plenty of books. There are 10 Bible lap books. These are phenomenal. These go with the themes. And they're written for young children. And they have gorgeous pictures. And 1st and 2nd graders love them. There's a Phonics Kit, and Wednesday we'll do a lunch meeting and we'll go through how to do phonics because it's really fun, but it takes a little bit, so we'll practice it a little bit and make sure that you are feeling confident with that. There are Bible story readers. So you can get a book that has the same pictures as are in here, but look at the number of words. So it's things that they can practice reading, or here are ones with more. And so your 1st and 2nd graders also would love these. One thing that Jenny did is these books are $35 a book. And so it's on the expensive side. It's well worth it, but you might want to do something like Jenny did, where she laminated them and put them together in little booklets. $35 per book, per this book, with all these readers. It's a really cool home connection. One thing that I thought of is, it wasn't really out before I was no longer teaching kindergarten, but I thought evangelism, so I thought maybe a church would be willing to provide some money towards this, thinking of it as evangelism. And then this is a Bible story CD for the readers in the lap books. And so the kids would be able to have something like that to take home and listen to it, I believe. And let's see. This is the Stairway to Reading book. It is also $35, but this is a pretty important one. And we'll talk about that more. So cross-curricular themes. Inside one of these DLGs, you have all the subjects. So you have Bible, math, language arts, science, social studies, art, music, PE. I mean, it includes everything. And so it's a theme-based. So this one here is called Who's My Neighbor? And it includes, let's see, where does this open? It includes careers, me on the map, Adele and Simon, who live in France, and Simon loses all kinds of things on his way home from school. And you can find the things that he's lost in the pictures. So it's really fun, but he goes to all these famous places in Paris. And so it's a really rich book. And then there's Be My Neighbor here.
Those are part of the 37 we were talking about?
Mm-hmm. So that's 4 of them. So again, it's the same themes that there is in Pathways, except that Off We Go is an introduction. And then we get into Heroes, My World, and Others, just like Pathways is set up. So here are the theme books for Off We Go. Hands as Warm as Toast, a little girl transitioning to school, and holding hands really makes her feel safer. Nico and Lola, little boy, and he's taking care of a pug, and it's kindness. So it's a really nice little book. This is Let's Be Friends. This is our house, these kids that are trying to figure out how to share this box. One Smile, it's pay it forward. And so she smiles, which makes someone else feel better, which makes them able to go out and get a job, and it just keeps going through the whole book, and it's a really fun book. Mia Hamm, Winners Never Quit. It's about her growing up and learning to be a good sport. Being With You This Way, it's kind of a rap. I mean, there's some rhythm to it that's really fun. I showed you the Who's My Neighbor ones. Deep in the Forest, When Rain Falls, Where Would I Be in an Evergreen Tree, Goodnight Owl, When We Go Camping. I mean, this is one of my absolute favorite units. For Christmas, we have Winter's Gift with a horse that is, this old man finds this horse and adopts it, and it's having a foal. Christmas Day in the Morning it's an old Pearl Buck story, and it's about a boy that gets up in the middle of early in the morning to surprise his dad by doing all the chores. And then the Best Present was one that Rob wrote, the one that did the Bible, and he writes about this little boy and getting ready for Christmas. Then We Are Family. This one includes 2 that are Asian. Grandfather Counts, which is an immigration type. Sam and the Lucky Money, choosing to be kind with his lucky money. Dad and Me in the Morning includes a child. I think the child is deaf, and they get up early to go and see the sunrise. Mama Panya's Pancakes is, you go to, I think it's Kenya. And so these, you have several different things, but the part that ties them together is it's family. There is another book, that Mama Panya's Pancakes. There are other ones set in Africa. Beatrice's Goat that comes in the last one. And so you could conceivably put those two books together to do more of a theme if you wanted. Burritt's Cold, this is our Arctic theme, and this is one that I have a lot of stuff for. But it's a true story of Balto, Mama, Do You Love Me? Alaska Animal Babies is a nonfiction book. And what's cool about that one is there are, especially little boys, love these nonfiction books. And so I can't necessarily read the entire book in one sitting, but they love hearing about the animals. And then The Emperor's Egg just talks about parents taking care of an egg.
Can I ask
Mhm.
why you're not able to read it in one sitting? Is it because they're asking questions and wanting to-
It's too much information, and they can only sit for so long. It would take longer than their attention span with it.
It's not one of those basic few sentences on one page?
No.
Okay.
No. But, I mean, it's probably a paragraph like this, but
It's still a lot of information.
it's a lot of information, and so it's one that I just break up and do a few animals each day, because you have other books that you're reading, but that one's typically not one that I read all in one sitting. I'm not saying that you can't, it's just I typically don't. Wonderfully Made, you have the growing story about a little boy seeing everything else grow and then realizing that he's growing too. The Busy Body book actually goes for 2 weeks because it has lots of information on bodies. And so that's a great one. It's a great tie-in. I think it's second grade that has a lot with the body. And then Happy Healthy Me, it's talking about eating the rainbow and exercise and all the different things that you do to be healthy. Moving on, this one's really fun. You have Poppin' the Pioneer Quilt, and they're moving in a covered wagon, and so you have some of the drama that happens when you're in a covered wagon. A Day on the Prairie was one that was written by third graders, and they did the illustrations, so it's fun to be able to show the kids that this is a book written by kids. Iron Horses is poetry, but it's the short, like 2-3 word poetry. And it's just fantastic. I love reading it. Arbor Day Square, they're in this new town, and people decide that they want to have a square where people can meet, and so they plant trees and they just make it really inviting. And so it goes along well with any kind of Earth Day. And then I'm on a Mission. You have Jalapeno Bagels, where a boy has, like one parent is Hispanic and one is Jewish, I think. Anyway, he's trying to think what to take to school that's both parents. And jalapeno bagels is what he decided. A box for Gyro, that one is, he gets a box of school supplies from ADRA. And it just tells about him and school and getting these supplies and how excited he was. Jungle Thorn, the picture that it shows there is not the book. The book is gorgeous, and it's taken the chapter book and turned it into a picture book. And I don't know if there still are, but there were Jungle Thorn felts that you could get too. I have a set of those. 4 Feet 2 Sandals, that is Pakistan and refugee camp. And these two little girls both find a flip-flop, and they each have one, and then they realize that they can't find the other one. And so they become friends, and it just talks about their friendship and their life in the refugee camp. And then Beatrice's Goat was a family that received a goat, and then because of that goat, they were able to sell the milk. Goat had babies, and so they were able to get the money that they needed for uniforms so that she could go to school. And it just, them having the milk added to their diet. So it was just a really healthy thing. And that also I've done a project like that with my class, where we provided a goat or chickens or something like that to somebody, to a family, to make a difference. So theme-based, I said that. Dramatic play was one of the things that I didn't mention, but dramatic play is important too. There is a K-2 multi-grade bridge program. So those of you that are teaching K1, K2, this is helpful. It's actually online through Southern University, not Southern University, Southern Union. And so I can show you how to get a hold of that too. But that is helpful because it takes some of the themes, not all of them, but as you start seeing how they go together, then as teachers, you can start seeing how to combine the others, and so that you're teaching smarter rather than making it harder. This one, I have not really seen the prep. And so I'm not sure that it really went anywhere. It's the K-2 bridge that I've seen more of. And that is through Southern Union. And if you just look up Southern Union K-2 bridge, it pops right up. So what are you thinking so far?
So obviously it's a set of 37, but we don't have to buy one for each kid. It's just one copy, right?
Right.
Considerably.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. And you probably already have them, I would think.
We didn't have kindergarten until I arrived last year. So,
Oh, okay. Okay.
So this will be the first year we'll have
Okay.
kindergarten.
So in the daily lesson guides, this is where I think I'm going to hand each one of you a box so that you can actually look through a book, because it's helpful. I can show you from the front, but sometimes it's helpful to actually open up the book and see it for yourself.
I substituted a lot for Lisa Rhodes' school. She came full time. So I read the jalapeno bagels and the iron holes.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you are,
Yeah, those are pretty good.
so then you were certainly familiar with it.
With about a couple, 3 books, yeah.
So as you go to the introduction, that's just right at the very beginning. And it reshares the kindergarten philosophy, and then a synopsis of the theme. So we're in the big one, if that's. Once you get past that, then it's spiritual connections. And here's a table that shows the key concept for each of the books, as well as the Bible verse that goes with each one. The Bible verses are short. The reason for that was we wanted them to be meaningful and ones that they could easily understand. We know that they can memorize way more than that, but we wanted it to be something super meaningful. And then here are the planning icons. And so if you see something that says teacher manual, you know to look there. If there's a safety alert, if there's food safety, and then writing mini lessons also have little icons. Then there's also a list of anything that you need to get. So book 1 for science, you might consider buying planets. If you don't buy planets, then look in your library and see if you have a book on planets already. It doesn't necessarily have to be that exact book, but the idea is just to have something similar. And so you can see what they need for book 1, book 2, Dinosaur Explorer.
Now, are those regular pathway books? That's the low version?
I don't think so. I don't think so. And then there's a family connection. Let's see. So the family connection is this newsletter, and granted, you probably are not going to be able to just take it and photocopy it, but sometimes there are some really good things in there that you could share with parents, and the parents would have a better idea of what you're studying. I mean, especially that first page where it talks about the growing story and God helps me make good choices. That would be the theme, the DLG theme, as well as the Bible theme. There's a home reading log. Then there are bulletin board ideas in there. And for me, that was always helpful because bulletin boards are not my favorite, and if I have an idea of what to do, it's much easier for me. Theme words. And so for each book, there are just some theme words that you can choose to share with the kids. There are calendars. I always like to make a calendar ahead of time, and I'd put little icons, so their birthdays, and we went swimming on Fridays, so I'd put person swimming. Just any of the main things that applied to them, I'd put in the calendar, and then I'd copy it for the year and bind it, and then every day they could write how many days they'd been in school. So it's a great way to practice writing numbers, because they're writing a number every single day, but after you get through the first 9 of them, well, then you do 1s 10 days in a row. Then you do 2s 10 days in a row for the 20s, and 3s 10 days in a row. And I could use the edges of the boxes to help them know where to write the numbers. And so the 2 started at the left, right by the black line, so they have to make it the correct direction. Put your 3s over there so that they have to go the correct direction. Does that make sense? And so it just sets them up for success. Centers, different ideas for centers. I mean, art center, block center, culminating activities. So here it's a Children's Day and having juice. I mean, it's kind of like a Japanese tea ceremony. So there are multiple things that you can do. These are really cool. These are transition activities. And I'm not sure if these, yes. And so there are songs that you can sing, and 1st and 2nd graders love that type of stuff too. But sometimes it's nice to have a cute way of doing the procedures. There's a suggested schedule for kindergarten, but again, you're dealing with other grade levels, so kindergarten will be fine. Then we get to Bible. I'm going to skip over these routines, and let's just go straight to the first book, because I want to go through these routines, but I'd rather have you looking at the grids. So as soon as we get to the first book, there's a synopsis of the book. So if you look at the edges, do you see the color coding? The first part is red, the first book is green, the second book is blue, the third book is purple, the fourth book is orange. So you can easily turn to where you want to with that color coding. And so, yes?
I noticed in one of them, as we were going through, it looked like one of them had 5 books. Is there then 5 colors in that one particular?
I believe so. Yes, there would be a separate color for each one. So here, we went through standards. And for kindergarten, they are not necessarily going to master all of these standards, right? So we went through and we put presented, developing, or independent. And we put an icon in each place. So if we felt like they should be independent in that, we put an icon in independent. If it was developing, it's in developing. If it's developing, we're going to continue to give them practice with that as well as the independent. The presented, we're just going to present that. If they get it, great. If they don't, we're not worried about it because some things in there are really not age appropriate for kindergarten. And so that's the way we handled that. So it goes through all the different standards that are included in the DLG. Then we get to worship and Bible. And you can see that we have grids here. So the first is introducing the Bible story. And so that would be like Monday. Monday would be introducing the Bible story. Tuesday would be presenting the Bible story. Wednesday is reviewing the Bible story. Thursday is practicing the Bible story. And Friday would be applying the Bible story. The cool thing is it's not set up with the 8 things like Encounter Bible, but it's set up in somewhat the same way because you're getting them excited about it, you're deepening their knowledge, you're having them realize that God is amazing, and then you're having them apply what they've learned. And so it fits very well, and 1st and 2nd graders love the Bible. So this can totally be part of your cycle for Bible because it works really well and the kids enjoy it. So you can look at the grid and you get a quick idea. There's the target skill, the activity, the materials that you need, and then what you're going to do with it. Then there are the paragraphs here that explain exactly how to do it. These are really detailed paragraphs. They're wonderful for when you have to be gone. A substitute can follow these quite well. And so that is super helpful. Let's see.
Does it say, like, how many days it's supposed to take? Or...
5 days. It's a week.
Oh, okay.
Each book is 1 week.
Okay.
Now, you can stretch it out longer, but it's set up for 1 a week. And that's how the Bible is set up. And so there are actually 5 different activities for the 5 days of the week for Bible. So if you don't have 5 days, then you might skip one of the days or you might cram some in. I mean, you can decide how to do that.
Is that based on 5 full days of school?
It would be 5 days of Bible.
But I mean, like the days in general, I know that there are some schools where their kindergarten is a half-day school. Is this taking that into consideration?
It's still 5 days. I mean, we did one.
How much time you spend on each thing would be dependent on how long your days are.
Yes.
If you don't have school on Friday or something, you may just make other days longer or something.
Exactly.
Okay.
Or you might not be on Monday through Friday. You might be on Tuesday through Monday. And that's okay too. I mean, it's kindergarten. You want them to have lots of hands-on experiences, lots of things like that. And then language arts, same thing. You have a whole bunch of different things, but these are not set up by days. So you have phonemic awareness, you have sound letter activities, you have reading workshop, signing in where they're learning to write their names, writing workshop, fine motor skills, listening and speaking. And so some of these activities would probably be centered activities where they can just kind of be working on them. And a lot of you have aides that will help with this, and so they can just have a great time. Here there are, in this one there's 7 letter M letter sound activities. Do not try to do all 7 of those. I mean, pick the one that you think would be the best for the child that you're working with. If they already know their letters, letters and sounds, you'd be working more with the phonics, which I'll go over on Wednesday. And so the phonemic awareness, there are 4 different levels, and this is actually good for your 1st and 2nd graders too, because they can use more practice with phonemic awareness. So some of the level 4 games would work really well for them, and you may have kids at all different levels for phonemic awareness. Reading workshop, there are some where it says before reading, during reading first time, during reading second time, after reading. So before reading, that would probably be on a Monday. During reading could totally be on that same Monday. And then you might read it a second time. Sometimes you don't actually read the whole thing the second time. Maybe you're just reading a section of it because they don't always want to listen to the same book multiple times. And so take that into account. I mean, you're going to have other books that you're reading as well, and there are some suggestions of other books in the bibliography at the end. All right, and then you have the paragraphs. Math. Oh, I got to science. Math, there are large group activities, there are small group activities, and there are independent activities. I wasn't very good at doing the small group activities. I'll just be honest with you, you probably only have a small group of activities, or a small group of kindergartners for the activities. And so there are some good ideas here. Some of you may be using Big Ideas Math for your kindergartners, and I totally understand that because it's a sequential program. This has a lot of fun ways of helping children gain math concepts, but there's more work that you have to do. And so I would absolutely have them doing some of this but if you're having them do big ideas, then you would use some of this to support it, just to give them more hands-on.
So don't use this by itself.
You can, but you have to plan and make sure that you're hitting the different standards. So you totally can do that. Those are the main routines. The other subjects, it's just more of the same. Fine motor skills, those are super important as they're learning to manipulate pencils, and so there are some really good activities, and some of your 1st graders and even some of your 2nd graders might benefit from those because it just strengthens and adds to their dexterity. All right, there are tracking cards at the back of the teacher manual, and I believe they're online as well. There's a report card. All right, we're moving on. Let's see, we went through that. Okay. I want to show you some of the stuff that's here because it is just so much fun. So this is a fine motor activity. Tongs are wonderful. And so here are trees that are numbered, and then you would count. So they'd put these on, so if there was a number 9 on the tree, they'd put 9 pom-poms on the tree. So that's fun. Here, this is a math sequencing puzzle for insects, and there are numbers down here. So if they are getting the numbers in order, then the puzzle will come out correct. Here are theme words that go with the theme. Here's a microscope. This is a really fun pop-up book. Here, let's see. I am not sure what this one is. Oh, I know. You have 6 raccoons and the numbers down at the bottom, there's 6, 4, 1. So you would just mark the one that it is. Here, you have these cute little pine cones and a 10 frame and numbers. And so you'd put out a number and put the right number in the 10 frame. Here's a puzzle. Here are leaves that have dots, so they can match them to the little wooden tokens and just match those up. Here is, this is Days of Creation, so that they can be practicing that. A bunch of these, so that magnifying glasses, so that they can look at different things. Over here, this is fun for science. These are Montessori, but you can make these using pasta and rice and having 2 that match, and they're in closed containers where they can't see, and so they can listen to those and match them up. Jenny uses whiteboards all the time for them to practice numbers, letters. She said they will practice anything on a whiteboard. And they'll do it way more times than they would any other way. And so they get to do all of that. This is what she uses for sign-in. And so she has the name here. We don't start with lines. I mean, there's a whole progression for sign-in that I believe is in the teacher manual. If not, it's in Off We Go, about starting with outlines and getting them started writing their names, because you want them to get started writing their names correctly. And so I always check. And then she has them practicing their numbers. I did 1 number a day with the calendar. I'm not sure if she has them write the numbers every single day, but she has them down here where they can practice. Here is a rainbow letter where they're learning to start in the right spot and trace it. This is great for making words and pulling a letter out. So if you make pod, well, now take the P out and put an N. What word do you have? Nod. They like, for writing, it's nice to have a choice. And she has little editing things down here. Did you start with a capital? Did you leave finger spaces? Did you end with a period? And so there's one that has lines for a short story and lines for a longer story. These are great for phonemic awareness. P, at, pat. And you can get them themed, which is fun. These are in, I believe, I'm not sure if it's Off We Go or if it's in the teacher manual, but they come like this and then you can just photocopy them. And she did fun colors of paper, and then the kids just practice cutting, and it's just a good way for them to learn to cut on lines. Here is dog food that you move with tongs into the other one. They also love to write with these. This is too much fun. See these? These are eyedroppers with colored water, and it's a way to practice with eyedroppers. They will sit with colored water and drop a drop of colored water in, and mine would then take and suck it back out. I mean, they would just have so much fun with these. Punches, good fine motor skills. And you can get the little tiny, like jewelry bags, and then they can put their little punches in to take home. Here's Jonah that goes with one of the Bible stories. God created the world, a little booklet that you could make for creation. She has gotten all kinds of themed little counters or just different things. And so she can do the exact same activities, but it's with different little erasers or little plastic things, and they'll do it over and over again because it's something different. And so here is an iceberg, and so you can have some up above, some down below, how many in all. Bible memory verse that they walk on and say it. She's turned all the Bible verses into ones like this, which is really cool. This goes with Me on the Map. It was a Pinterest one that she found. And this is me, this is my school, this is my city. And this is a great social studies activity, even up through first and second. The Pioneer book. This goes with Moving On. And I just thought it was so cute. It has Abraham and Sarah in there. It shows the Oregon Trail, how many months it took. So there are just different things that she did with that. These just all kind of nest, and it shows my school, on my street, in my city, in my state, in my country, on my continent, and on the world. And then they all nest as well. Dramatic play. Every Friday, or some day during the week, have an estimating activity. And first and second graders would love this too. You just show them the jar and how many do you think? And they get better and better at it. Here, there are multiple bags and they can count how many are in the bag, and then they can record it. One of the things is they are not always, in fact, they are not doing all that many worksheets. There are some, and it's good for them to learn how, and sometimes you need them to just sit down and do a worksheet, but keep in mind that they will be super fast doing a lot of worksheets. I mean, it'll be fast, and they do better hands-on. Give them something, give them the pattern blocks to make patterns with. And then if you have pattern block stickers, give them those, and then they can use those to record their pattern, and they can take that home. And so once they've done the work, then you might have some way for them to record it, or I would take pictures and text those home so that parents knew exactly what their kids were doing during the day. And so that was really helpful. All right, let's see if we can look up this bridge. So I'm going to look up what I told you to look up. Southern Union K-2 Bridge. All right, we're going to click on that. This is curriculum. K-2 multi-grade bridge. And so they have, it looks like they have a lot of it done. So if we go to Hands as Warm as Toast, there's the book. And then down underneath the book, there is Lesson at a Glance, Detailed Daily Lesson Plan, Vocab Master, Activity Master. So let's just take a look at Lesson at a Glance. And so here, day 1 to 5, signing in morning activity. It has what kindergarten would do, what first grade would do, what second grade could do. Circle time, morning meeting. And some of the time it says this activity is not designed for first grade. However, there are some ideas that are provided in the detailed daily lesson plan. And so Bible, no differentiation. Language arts, it talks about what would be helpful with all 3 of the grades. And then if we go back here, let's look at the detailed daily lesson plan. And so here, this is very detailed. It tells you exactly what they would do, where to find the activities. So this will be super helpful because it looks like they have it for all of them now. Because a while back, it was not all of them. Let's see. So I'm not sure how to get to the next one really easily. Let's just go to one deep in the forest. I just want to see. Yeah. No, it looks like it has everything there. And so as you're doing your lesson plans, this will be really helpful to just see what you can do with all of them together and how you can differentiate. All right, we have like 3 minutes left.
What is your viewpoint on naps for kindergartners?
Okay, so I typically did a quiet time, but my quiet time consisted, I discovered that most kids were not going to take naps. And if they did, their parents weren't necessarily wanting them to, because then they'd stay up too late at night. So I had a story time. I mean, we'd go ahead and do mats, and I had stuffed animals, and they brought blankets from home. And then I let kids choose books. And so I'd have 3 kids choose books. I would read those. And I mean, typically by the time you got everyone situated and then cleaned up after, it took about half an hour. And it was just a nice, comfortable time during their day and if they went to sleep, I let them sleep. But I was not looking for them to, because our day was continuing on. There are people that are putting them down for naps, but it didn't work in mine. I had larger kindergartens, like 12 to 25, any number in there. What would be helpful to you?
Just like scrambled eggs right
No,
now.
I get it. I get it. So I want to make sure that you know how to get to the K-2 bridge, and if you're a person that likes to print things out, sticking it in a binder, I would not do one that big, because you want to be able to manage what you have. But printing stuff out, writing all over it, highlighting things, because there's a lot of information that they have there. The other thing is planning. Planning was overwhelming, and I helped create the program, but planning was overwhelming to me, because I could have gone through Bible, language arts, and math, and oh wait, I don't have any day left. So you really have to pick and choose. There are lots of activities there, and you'll notice that there are some that are more towards first grade, because we had a person on our committee that was actually teaching first and second. It wasn't until she started teaching kindergarten that she realized, oh, some of these activities are too hard. We're saying, yeah, because we were actually teaching kindergarten. But it's helpful when you have first and second, because there are things that you can do as a group that will benefit all.
Are you still behind me?
Yes.
Turning around, sizzling from here.
Okay, so I will be around all week. We'll meet to talk about phonics on Wednesday, but I will be around, and I'll be the one that's checking lesson plans and long-range plans for this. And so the K-2 bridge could be very helpful with some of your actual lesson planning.
Actually, so this lesson plans, having it in by the end of this week is for those who want the 1 or 2 credits, or is this everyone?
Well, it all needs to be done, but from what I heard before, we understand if you only have part of it done, but then you still have to finish it and turn it into your superintendent, and it's a pain to have to finish it later because you're not really going to have more time since you have setup and just there are so many things that you have to do. And so the more that you can get done this week, was it getting easier by the time you had gone through science and social studies? Or not really? Not really.
Is that nod or a shake? I mean, what?
I'm trying to think about this now. I mean, but I understand it.
And part of it, it just takes time. I mean, it just takes wrapping your head around it, and it will get faster. But having the 2 weeks of lesson plans will be so helpful. You will be so thankful because those first few weeks are just crazy. And remember that in 6 weeks, you're going to have different kids than that first day of school. And so keep that in mind. They're going to get better and better and better.